Do you ever make excuses? Maybe you've made an excuse when your parents ask you why you haven't cleaned your room, or your teacher asks why your homework isn't done and you blame it on the dog. Oh man, I've heard that one before. If we're being honest, we've all made excuses from time to time. In the Bible, we read about Moses making excuses to God because he didn't want to go to Egypt to tell Pharaoh to let the children of Israel go. No matter the excuse, God wants obedience. And that's today's lesson from the land. Here we are in the wilderness. Now imagine if you're Moses and you're herding sheep when you come across a bush that's on fire, yet it's not burning up. That's what Moses found. And that fire, that was God talking to Moses through the bush. As we talked about in our last lesson, God heard the cries of the Israelites. Now God was ready to deliver his people from the land of Egypt and to bring them to a better place, and he wanted Moses to lead the way. But Moses wasn't so sure.
Who am I?
Who am I to go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? God had an amazing answer to Moses' excuse. He said, I will be with you. But the people of Israel won't believe me when I tell them God sent me. That was another of Moses' excuses. He was really trying to get out of going back to Egypt. But who will I say sent me? Moses knew there were many false gods in Egypt, and Pharaoh and the children of Israel would need to know just which God was saying, let my people go. God told him, tell them I am who I am. In other words, the Lord is the God who is really God. He is the God who is. Moses had more excuses. But what if they don't believe me? Do you think that excuse worked? Nope. God gave Moses signs so the people would believe him. His staff would become a snake, and then a staff again. His hand would be leprous, covered with a horrible disease, and then it would be healthy again. Still, Moses had more excuses. He told God that he didn't speak very well, and that's why he couldn't go. But God didn't accept that excuse either. God told Moses that he created his mouth and he would teach him what to say. He would even send his brother Aaron with him to help him. The point is, every time Moses tried to make an excuse to God for why he could not obey, God had an answer. And in the end, Moses went and obeyed. Moses is one of the more well-known people in the Bible to make excuses. But there were others. Think about Jonah, when he tried to run away from God because he didn't want to do what God had told him to do. Think about King Saul's excuses when he didn't obey God all the way. Or maybe yet another well-known excuse. The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I ate. Adam made excuses too, when he ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In the end, everyone who made excuses ultimately either obeyed or was punished for their disobedience. But there were others who didn't make excuses when God called them. God wanted a messenger to deliver a difficult message to his people. And Isaiah said, Here I am, Lord, send me. And then there was Samuel. God called him as a young boy. What was his response to God's call? Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. In our lives today, we need to take responsibility and not make excuses. There will always be reasons we could give for not obeying God. But if he wants it done, that's reason enough. And just like Moses, when God calls us to do something hard, he promises to be with us. And because he is the great God, the God who is, He will help us do whatever He commands us to do. Are you ready to answer God's call?